All right, everybody, welcome back to Bean Talk here for episode 3. Obviously, the trade deadline has just passed as of 2 days ago. So we're going to use this as basically our trade deadline special. We're going to really get into the trades that we haven't mentioned. And of course, we already got into Bayard and a couple other trades in a more minor way. So now we're going to get started on the rest of the big trades, the ones that were really going on right as the deadline was coming. So, Christian, let's just get this started.
Yeah, so to start off, we're just going to be going over the big major trades that happened. So obviously starting off with Leonard Williams. He has been sent to the Seattle Seahawks for, I believe it was
a fifth and a fourth.
A fifth and a fourth. So, I mean...
Second and a fifth.
Second and a fifth. So, I mean, that was as you can say, Giants cop fleeced in a way, Williams. I mean, he is a player that still has a lot of potential. Still has a lot of progress, especially
to consider that people are going for like lower values, like some guys we're gonna get into right now. I think it's relatively good.
Yeah, I think it's really good. It's really good trades, and these past trades have been really, really low, which is kind of surprising, especially these players. They're pretty good for the most part. Have some glimpses here and there, but for such low value, it's pretty interesting what these teams are kind of cooking up in a way. But with Leonard Williams, with that young Seattle defense, I think it's gonna be a pretty good trade for these Seahawks in a way. I mean, Giants got fleeced kind of, I guess you could say.
In its own right,
yeah, in its own way, the Giants kind of got fleeced in this way. Seahawks did win this trade. But I think it's going to make a pretty decent impact for the Seahawks pass rush D-line.
I mean, it's going to be see how much they can keep up in the NFC West, because of course, obviously we're going to get into some other moves that really obviously made a big impact. I mean, sure, we'll talk about the Niners in a bit, but of course, the pickup of Randy Gregory recently, that's going to, they've been bolstering their defense little by little. So obviously this is a necessity that the Seahawks had to pick up, which, they already have a solid defense, of course, with Rick Woolen and Quandre Diggs, a lot of those guys.
Well,
of course,
sensational work rookie going on.
But I mean, it's a necessary move, because you already got that solid defense. You're going to need to bolster it little by little. Yeah. And I mean, it's definitely a good step in the right direction to see how much. I mean, right now, as of the Niners' struggles, they are first in the division. We'll see, if that holds. The Seahawks are really in a really good spot, in a really good run of form right now. We'll see how much the addition of Williams really does, help bolster this defense.
Yeah, hopefully does make an impact, since that NFC West is still stacking up for grabs for the division. But yeah, the Niners, Seahawks, their defenses are getting really, really bolstered. But the Seahawks, with Williams, hopefully there's some impact to be made to get the run for the NFC West title.
Yeah, so obviously there's a lot of defensive moves that we're going to get into, and we'll get into another big one right here. A team that really, we expected them to start getting rid of some defensive pieces, and the two pieces that were expected to go did end up going with the Washington Commanders, starting off with Montez Sweat. This is obviously a big, him, and of course the bigger name that we'll get into in a bit. We're in rumors for the past couple weeks. It was a surprising trade. Let's just get into that.
Yeah, it was
the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, we did expect Montez Sweat to be traded for the most part. Yeah, to at least to a team that actually has a chance. But to the Bears, that was a little surprising, since the Bears really aren't going nowhere.
And for a second round pick, which sure they are heavy on draft picks right now after the trade with the Panthers for the number 1 pick last season. So they are a little flexible, sure. But that Commanders pick could be pretty valuable. We see the position they're in. Why are you going to give that up? And sure, you're getting Montez Sweat, but how much is that really going to help you? You're giving up. Okay, they didn't really get rid of stuff. That's the problem here. They didn't get rid of pieces. They're already in that tanking position. You're riding it out with a backup quarterback right now in Big Jim. Obviously Fields will be back soon, and who knows his future with the team, but it just doesn't make sense to be kind of in a buying position in this trade deadline when the spot of this team. Sure, maybe Sweat is someone that they want to build their defense around in the future. That could be what they're looking at. That's the only thing that really makes sense here. But it doesn't really make sense at this point in time. Honestly, I would have expected them to maybe pick up a quarterback and a defensive piece in the draft with obviously their pick and the Panthers pick coming. We're obviously going to be probably top 5, top 10 picks. That would have been the smartest thing to do. But if Montez Sweat's going to be that veteran presence for whoever they do pick up in that draft, that could definitely be a smart.
Yeah, without a doubt, Montez Sweat, he still has a lot of life in him in his early career. He's still in his prime. He's going to be hopefully
arguably entering his prime.
Yeah, you could say that. You could argue for the most, but it's going to really help this defense in a way. But in the position that the Bears are in right now, they're really in no contention for, let alone to try and hit that division. Since usually the Lions are still top, Minnesota is still making a run, roughly, which, we'll get into that as well with Minnesota. But I just don't think this Montez Sweat trade to the Bears really was going to do the Bears any different for this remaining season. Hopefully in the future to come, but this is just a really bad position right now.
It is a move.
It was a move for the future. It is a move, but the current state right now
was the right move for the future.
In this case, should they have made that move early? Who knows? But it's really only the future will tell. We'll see what the Bears can handle this situation. And obviously the same with the Commanders. The other star player, they got traded, which was another expected one, Chase Young. Then the 49ers, they ended up picking him up it was a 3rd round pick. I know you were pretty upset about this for your Rams not cooking anything up, especially that you guys are in defense.
For this exact kind of capital too, which I was expecting, literally what I told you, offer a 3rd at first. If that doesn't get done, maybe 2/3, maybe a 3rd in a second. Which Chase Young, sure, he hasn't shown the potential that he was, so a number 2 overall pick, and you would have expected a lot more out of him coming out of Ohio State, when defensive powerhouse. But I mean, you see, I would have thought you give that offer and that would have been good. But for a 3rd rounder, which is what we just talked about with Williams, who was arguably he has that reputation a little better than Chase Young at the moment. So I mean, to see that, honestly, he went for even a little lower capital. It was decent. I guess you get it. Hasn't really hit it yet. Obviously, he's a little injury prone, so there's the little doubts about his potential. But that's the thing. He has so much potential that this is going to be a really, really good move for the Niners. I mean, they're in cap hell right now, moving forward. All the pieces that they have already paid and still have to pay coming forward. So we'll see how much all these moves end up doing. These are obviously all win now moves that.
Yeah, it's just the only thing with Chase Young is just he's injury prone. Yeah, he really hasn't lived up to the expectations when he was drafted for 2nd overall by the Commanders. I believe it was in 2020, right? 2020. Yeah, 2020. And from his rookie season, he was looking pretty well, but injuries started getting in the way. You really can't see what he has left right now, but still has a lot of potential. Really, lots of potential for his career. It's just if he's able to get past those injuries, if Chase Young, if he's 100% healthy, he can definitely be a monster on the field. Let alone coming into a defensively loaded Niners team, I think it's gonna be like a pretty decent impact for the seasons to come. But obviously, Niners they got their situation right now with Brock Purdy and the quarterback situation moving forward.
We'll see how much that goes forward.
We'll see how that goes forward.
Them is, they have so many pieces that you got a couple pieces already locked up, but you got the pieces that you're gonna have to pay. So these are all win now moves. They're expecting to be contending for this year, obviously next year, maybe the year after that. But once these windows run out and they're already moving, like the Rams after winning the Super Bowl, they were in cap hell and had to get rid of all their guys in the year after and the year of winning the Super Bowl. Obviously letting go of guys like Von Miller and Jalen Ramsey little by little. So you see the position the Rams were in. I'm expecting the Niners to be in that position.
Yeah, because when you got guys like Deebo, Fred Warner, Ayuk, McCaffrey, you got a bunch of weapons on both sides.
All that money to Javon Hargrave.
Yeah, Hargrave got most of that, which is the reason they're in cap hell right now. But when you got loads of weapons on each side of the ball, you're gonna have to make some moves. Whether it's gonna release a couple of your star players to pay the star players that you really want. Like I would assume they're gonna probably keep McCaffrey and Warner, of course. But obviously we're gonna see how it happens with Ayuk and Deebo.
That big contract to Bosa.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the highest paid defensive player in NFL history, and it's just the thing. Come 2-3 years from now, it's going to be a really rough position for now. I mean, we see how the Saints had that position a couple years ago. The Rams, what they're facing right now, which the Rams are barely recovering from it. And obviously, I'd love to see them actually finally start that full rebuild. But for the Niners, that's something that they do have to watch out for in the future. If they do, keep their finances in order, this could be just a deadly run to some to see what they can do. But it all comes down to how well they manage this. But of course, finally moving back to the offensive side of the ball. With the Minnesota Vikings, after losing their franchise quarterback and Kirk Cousins to that Achilles tear, really rough to see for them and for the NFL community as a whole. They were on the move. We've obviously been saying when you're gonna have Jaron Hall.
He is the backup to the third string for the Vikings.
Third string since Nick Mullins is currently on IR. If that was the guy that we did not expect them to roll with him, so they made a move to.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true to get Josh Dobbs, who has some experience, but Josh Dobbs won't be getting the starts. It will be Hall
because
he's new to the team.
It's an idea like what we saw with Baker Mayfield last season.
He was able to cook it up without knowing the playbook. It really came down to the wire in the front where he really.
It's because the Rams coaches, really simplified it for him and really got him going in that way.
No, yeah, the coaches of the Rams, the coaching for the Rams, it's there. Obviously, this season it's a little scattered, but with Baker, they got him going for the most part in 2-3 days, and we'll stay able to be ready, which is really good. Yeah, but in this case, Dobbs is just. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Because the point with this is, exactly what I'm pretty sure what you were about to say. Dobbs. We're not, no knock on him, but, Baker, we see his reputation. Sure, he probably wasn't all there, with his output, but, he's a great football mind. We can see that again. We see the reference to what happened week 1 against the Vikings. That, he was on top of it and got a lot of the Viking signals, and that was a big factor in beating the Vikings in week 1. And we see he's a great mind, so obviously he just sucked in all that information real quick and was able to, rule that playbook really well. As for Josh Dobbs, it's barely his first couple games as a starter.
He's still inexperienced. He's
very raw, of course. Sure, he has potential. He showed a lot of potential in college. He's shown flashes here, obviously, in that really good game against your Cowboys. He showed some flashes against the Rams, of course, in that first half, that after, the second half it imploded a bit. But, regardless, he is going to need some time to at least by next week he'll be the starter. Yeah. We know that for sure.
And he's able to put up a fight. We talked about this before and in the videos that, he still puts up a fight. Regardless of how bad the Cardinals can be, he still puts up a very decent fight.
Unfortunately, this past week against the Ravens, it was a tough week for him. He was obviously already going to get benched, so he wasn't. I guess the Cardinals didn't see him as that asset. I would have liked to see him keep him over Caleb Toon in general, but regardless, that was the move the Cardinals decided to make, and obviously it was a 6th and 7th round pick swap for this trade to happen, and I do think as a solid option for the Vikings. They're gonna have to roll with Hall this week. It's gonna be a little transition period for them. Yeah. But with a week and a half for Dobbs to move on and really immerse himself into this playbook, I really do think it's gonna be a strong move for him, which he already has that experience to jump into a new team and get the ball rolling right away, as he recently last season obviously against the York Cowboys. Wasn't the best game, of course, but he was just on the Browns practice squad, got signed to the Titans after the injury to Tannehill last season. Expecting him to have some sort of success as we saw last season. Yeah,
but obviously this Vikings is going to pick Jaren Hall, whether he does good, if he has a Nick Foles type season, which very highly unlikely, but we're just saying this game goes going to pick where if he does great, then they're going to decide if do we still start Dobbs. It just all depends here. But Josh Dobbs, he still has a lot of potential. I feel like he just needs more experience to get there. And then obviously almost closing up with the trades, second to last major trade that happened recently, which is pretty easy. Yeah, it's a serviceable way. Peoples-Jones, they get traded to the Lions, which is I think it's a pretty even matchup for both teams. Lions are pretty okay with the receiver room. I think with Peoples-Jones, they just add some arm. And we already got Jameson Williams, who's still a little bit iffy.
But of course, this was a really big thing with Marvin Jones being out for a while. That was this is their Marvin Jones replacement. At least as it comes now, we'll see. If Marvin Jones does make it back in this season, we'll see which decision they make, who they feel is going to be more, a stronger piece for them. But he is going to replace Jones' place in this offense. Sure, Jameson Williams hasn't been getting the production that people would have expected to this point. So maybe he does immerse him. So maybe he can explode as a solid backup, a wide receiver 2 option for Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, and it's always speaking of Amon-Ra as well, it's also better for him. So the less takes a little bit pressure off Amon-Ra, which still other than Amon-Ra.
Of course, they do have Laporta for that.
Yeah, Laporta at the tight end, the security blanket for Jared Goff for the most part. But even with Amon-Ra taking the load of most of this for the receiving room, he's still able to put up a lot of production. Lions are still winning. Other than that Ravens game, which was pretty upsetting, but Amon-Ra, he's still able to pick up a little bit towards then as well. But I feel with Peoples-Jones, that will kind of even out the trade with Marvin Jones as well. So we got Jameson, Peoples-Jones, and Amon-Ra.
It's going to open up their pass.
Pass game's going to be a little more open up. You already got more options.
Yes, it's going to give them options, and I honestly do think it's going to be a solid trade for him because as we said at the start, Jones is a serviceable receiver. He's obviously far from a star, but he's definitely going to be a solid asset for them, and we'll see if they can use him correctly here in this Lions offense. Of course, one final trade, spin it right back into the defensive side of the ball here, in Rasul Douglas being traded right back to the Buffalo Bills from the Green Bay Packers. This trade, it was, I guess, you see the position the Packers are in, it's a little iffy. I guess, after seeing them, they obviously did just give Gray and Nessa extension, another defensive side for them. I guess, they're obviously just want to center their defense, kind of weed out other pieces. So Douglas is returning to the Bills. I see this as a solid move for the Bills. Obviously, they have a, I guess you could probably call it a mediocre defense right now. Obviously, losing, they just lost a big piece on defense just in London a couple weeks ago. I don't recall Matt Milano,
the linebacker,
recently came away with a big that ACL injury. So obviously different positions. It's not as
but it's still gonna be a huge impact. It's gonna be really huge.
You lose a playmaker, you gain a playmaker, and obviously they really need that help. They got a big game coming up, obviously against the Bengals, and just in a tough division, they're gonna have to keep up with Miami, of course, which they seem to have their number at the moment. Recently they've had a lot of success against Miami, but it's just they need to keep up. One game that can't depict anything. Obviously, we've seen recently the circle of parity was completed in the NFL. That there's everyone can beat everyone. It's clear to see that everyone always any given Sunday something can happen. So any piece, this is just going to bolster that Bills defense, and it's just a really sound move to make for them.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, the Bills, they do need, especially with the loss of Matt Milano, let alone their defense being mediocre for at best. Rasul Douglas, he's still a really great corner. He put up a lot. Because I believe Rasul Douglas, he did get traded to the Packers from Philly, I think, or as a free agent signing. I'm not too sure what. I kind of forgot about that. But Rasul Douglas, let alone he's in his prime right now. He had great glimpses last season too with the Packers.
With Alexander, which obviously he's been probably an off year right now, but it was a great tandem to see with the Packers right there, both sides of the ball. Really able to help.
Rasul Douglas, he's still a great cornerback without a doubt. I think he's gonna make a big impact with the Bills here, especially with Tre'Davious White. He is missing the season, so which was already some old news, but I'm just saying with him being at the cornerback spot, especially with the powerhouse that the AFC is in right now with the Bills, with their struggles and how they're gonna make it past this season with with their record and the remaining schedule, and how they're gonna get past like the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the other powerhouses that the AFC does have.
It seems like they are the team that everyone there's powerhouse in the AFC, and they seem to be the ones to struggle with. Obviously losing to the Bengals last year in the divisional, never really being able to get past the Chiefs. It's just can they make that next step? Obviously, we're both expecting them to make at least from the start of the season we expected a lot of improvement from the Bills as a whole, and with a mediocre defense that we obviously say we always talk about the Chiefs in that regard. The Bills having that kind of same same look about them. It's something that we hopefully a move like this for Rasul Douglas really gives a jolt to this Bills defense and can actually really edge them away from that somewhat mediocrity and actually help them get hopefully to the elite defense type level.
Yeah, it could possibly happen. One player could make a difference with the whole team. I know some examples. I mean, Amari Cooper with the Cowboys a couple years ago, he made a huge impact to that offense after starting 3-5 and finishing the season with a 10-6 record, which was pretty useful. Other big names like McCaffrey as well with the Niners, huge impact with him.
Obviously, these are solid teams that just got better. Obviously, I'll toot my own horn with the trade of Goff and Stafford. It was already a playoff team. And the trade for Stafford obviously elevated them to a Super Bowl winner.
It wasn't even traded. Stafford finally got his Super Bowl. Goff, he's working his way up to that, and he has a lot of potential.
It looked like a mediocrity move for them, but look at the Lions.
Sure, he had that 1 year still getting adjusted, and they showed globes, and everything. I thought the Lions were going to struggle this season, but they're obviously way exceeding my expectations, and they're good. But with Rasul Douglas, I do believe he'll be the same team with the Bills defense, and hopefully the Bills can actually move on. I'll move on from this, but keep Rasul Douglas hopefully for the remaining tenure of his career, which could be a big bolster. And once Tre'Davious White comes back next season, they can possibly be a really, really big duo in the league.
But of course, we will just wrap it up with one piece of information. Obviously, the trade deadline was the focus here. Got one tidbit, of course, for Thursday Night Football that is obviously coming in here with Will Levis is finally going to keep the starting role. We obviously mentioned that in the recap yesterday. Sure, he's only starting because of the Tannehill injury. Sure, but as I mentioned, I really think from what he's shown, sure, it's one game. We always say that can't jump the gun on that, but he's showing flashes of a lot better than Tannehill. It could be beginner's luck. Teams haven't figured him out just yet. but he's looking, he's showing potential. He's showing a lot of signs that, he could be the answer. I'll be the first to say, I wasn't that big on him coming out. I didn't really like him coming out of Kentucky, but I did expect him to be in that starting role because of the position the Titans are in right now. So if he actually does prove me wrong and comes in and balls out and could he become the Titans franchise QB in years to come?
But we really got to look into it. It's still one game.
Sure.
Yeah, it was still one game with Levis, which is pretty, Tannehill's injury.
But it's all speculation because there's always been guys that randomly come in with a solid game. You probably think it can't be much, but look where you guys. This is minor example, but look, Kareem Hunt in his NFL debut back in 2018 against the Chiefs, 2017 against the Patriots. Yeah, big game for him. Look where he ended up. Obviously, he had his own issues, but at least it was a sign to come.
At least he's still, Kareem was still picking it up, which is good. But still first time we saw already with Tyler, I think Badger, but I honestly cannot pronounce Bajay. He had that great start against the Raiders, and then now look, he had a shit show against the Chargers. But again, it's like still two young guys. But with Will Levis, he looks like he has potential. He really does. And obviously with DeAndre Hopkins finally getting production, since his quarterback is actually, competent in a way. Because we talked about it. We talked about this in the episodes. We knew Tannehill was going to get benched for either Malik Willis or Will Levis, which is one of the other two. And, it finally came up. Obviously not benched yet since he is out with the injury. But I feel that if Will Levis is able to pick up this production, even with Tannehill's still injured, he's going to get benched. Yeah. These next couple games, they're really going to pick it, especially the Thursday night against this Steelers team with a banged up Kenny Pickett.
Not only, sure, on the offensive side of the ball, they are banged up, but that defense is still really solid.
Yeah, the defense,
sure, they don't have Minkah Fitzpatrick, which is gonna maybe show, give a little break for Will Levis, but when you got TJ Watt breathing down your back, that's gonna be. We see how much he disrupted against the Rams, and in general, as a whole, he is the backbone of this Steelers defense.
Yeah.
We'll see how Will Levis can handle it. Obviously, he's going to get welcomed into the league with a good sack from him, I'm sure of it. But it just all comes down to, how much is he going to respond to, probably with the moment he faces adversity in this game. And, moving forward, which, we probably do expect Tannehill to maybe miss out at least one more week with injury. If he, with these couple games, if he actually, maintains that production that he did last week, it comes out, can he, will he actually be named the starter? And, we said, week 10, week 11, if he has a good week this week, if he plays again next weekend and has a good week, we could definitely be seeing him named as the full-time starter.
Without a doubt, these next couple games really going to depict everything, because I really doubt Tannehill's really going to get the start, especially after that injury. But honestly, Will Levis, even if he has a couple losses here and there, but they see his production, I feel this production is really going to overshadow that, let alone with Tennessee's defense and how iffy they can be as well. But with the connection with him and Hopkins, that's able to build up. Because you saw the connection he got. Hopkins finally had a good game. He was being a little cocky here and there, but when, like I said, he actually has potentially. He potentially has a quarterback right now that seemed to have some life right then and there. Because obviously Tannehill, he wasn't getting the job done. And if Will Levis is able to pick it up, it's also less pressure on Derrick Henry, and the run game can actually be a little bit more consistent.
Of course, they did keep him in the lead to the trade deadline. They were really pushing for him. Keeping him could be, look, we see the AFC South. They are definitely still alive. Sure, the Jaguars are far and above right now, but who knows, maybe, we never know. That's the thing, we never know in this division. With these mediocre divisions, things can change like nothing, and the Titans could possibly out of nowhere, slingshot their way back up. We saw, the Colts looked like they were probably going to be right there with the Jaguars, but losing Anthony Richardson obviously hurt them. Can the Texans really contend to that division? That's also, to be seen. Right now, obviously, it looks purely for the Jaguars, but if Will Levis can maintain this production, you never know if they can catch the Jaguars. But of course, that is going to wrap us up. Obviously, with all the trades we had to get into and a little bit of rambling, we obviously extend a little longer than what we usually do. But obviously, that's going to wrap us up here for our third episode of Bean Talk. Get this out. Hopefully, this time, there was a little unforeseen situation that kept us from getting this video out on time last week, but this one surely I will have it out by right around game time. So after this, we will have, possibly any other news to report on. We will get into that. But far from that, we will see you guys Sunday morning for obviously the Sunday chat. Hopefully you guys can stick around for that, and we'll see you then.